Next, we'll take a look at web design using Adobe ImageReady CS. ImageReady is a component that actually comes with Photoshop and has been included with Photoshop for several versions now. And as with each new version of Photoshop that we make enhancements to, we also make enhancements to ImageReady. Typically, you would simply open an image in Photoshop or create one and then click the very bottom of the tool palette to launch that image into ImageReady. I've gone ahead and opened ImageReady manually from the operating system, which actually it's located in the same location as Photoshop. Now that I have ImageReady CS open, you'll notice that we get the same kind of welcome screen that we got inside of Photoshop. We can go to tutorials and learn how to use the product. We can get some tips and tricks from the experts, or we can just simply find out what's new in this version. I'm going to go ahead and close the ImageReady CS welcome screen. And the next thing I want to do is go ahead and open an image. When I choose File Open, I can go in, and I'm going to pick my Rollovers image. Now, although Photoshop has several tools for enhancing photographs, where ImageReady comes into play is it has several tools for creating web designs and mocking up layouts for the web, including creating animations and rollovers. So I have an image here. And this image looks like it could be the front page to a website. And I notice that I have 3 layers here. Now, typically, the problem has been with working with ImageReady or Photoshop for the web is that it's pixel-based. And most people like to lay things out in a more object-oriented manner. So they tend to lean towards products like Illustrator, which is a great tool for laying out web pages. But then, you lose some of the capabilities of the animation and the rollovers. So now, inside of ImageReady, you can do some of the object-oriented stuff that you've always wanted to do without having to go to Illustrator first. So for example, I can select this chair layer, and now when I hold down my Shift key, I can click on and select additional layers as I go. You'll notice that instantly in my options bar here, I was taken to my alignment tools, because again, we're working with these as if they were objects. So I want to align the vertical centers. So now they're all 3 perfectly aligned. However, these 2 are closer than these 2. So I want to distribute the space in my horizontal centers. So now they're perfectly spaced apart and perfectly aligned. ImageReady CS also comes with things like smart guides. So as you select objects and move them around, you will see guides to help you align those objects with other objects that already exist in the layout. The next thing I want to do is I want to talk about rollovers. So I want to go into my my web content palette here, and the web content palette is new inside of ImageReady CS. So I have a button set, and think of button sets as you would layers or anything else inside of Photoshop. Basically, we can go ahead and create multiple objects and put them in a set. So the next thing I want to do is I want to select my chair rollover. And basically, this is a set of layers inside of ImageReady. So I want to go in, and with that, or actually it could also be determined by slices inside the image as well. So with this particular set selected, I want to go in, and what I want to do now is create a rollover state for this. So I'm going to use the flyout menu for the web content, and I'm going to just simply say new rollover state. And that gives me an overstate for this particular object inside my button set. Now, with the overstate selected, what I want to do next is dictate what happens when someone rolls over this particular button. And I can do that from my layers palette. Actually, inside my layers palette, I have all the layers in the image, and I can choose what is on and what is off. So, for example, there's a color overlay effect on top of the chair layer. I can now turn that particular layer effect off, or layer style off, so that now when someone rolls over the image, they will not see the blue color overlay. The next thing I want to do is not only do I want that overlay to disappear when they roll over the chair, but I also want some text to appear in another part of the image. In other words, I want to create a remote rollover. So to do that, I'm going to temporarily show my slices. As most large images start out in Photoshop or ImageReady, they are then sliced into smaller pieces using the slicing tools that are built in. So now that I have this sliced area over here showing, the next thing I'm going to do is using the pick whip, which is a tool that originated in Go Live. I want to simply take the overstate and map it to this particular slice, so that now not only will the color overlay disappear, but whatever's in that slice will also appear. And I'm going to simply go back to my layers and turn on the furniture text layer for that area. So now I can turn off my slices. I don't need to see those anymore. And the next thing I want to do is simply test this. I can either test it inside my browser of choice, or I can test it right here inside of ImageReady. So using the preview feature here, I can roll over this particular chair, and not only did the color overlay go away, but my text also appeared in this area as well. So it works perfectly. The next thing I want to do is I want to talk about animation. I'm going to go ahead and close this particular image, and then we'll go up to our File menu, and we're going to open an image. But before we do that, let's talk about what we mean by animation. ImageReady has been able to create animated GIF files for a long time. However, in today's web design, many people lean towards Flash animations because they can be more sophisticated than simple GIF animations. Well, with Flash animations, you can now create those right inside of ImageReady. The files and layers that you animate can be exported directly to SWF or SWF format right outside of ImageReady. But we didn't stop there. We also gave you the capability of creating variable data. That means that your animations can change based on the text inside of your HTML or inside of a text file. So let's see how that works. The first thing I'm going to do is go out to my desktop here. And actually, I think I have a folder or sample here. Let's go ahead and open this up. And I'm going to just simply double click on the sample page so you can see what we're talking about here. So here's our SWF animation, and notice it just simply says speaker name here and forum event name here. So basically it's waiting for that data to come in and change this animation. So let's see how we can do that inside of ImageReady. So now I'll go choose File and Open. And what I want to open here is my banner image. Actually, we're going to go to Variables here and open up our banner image, because this is the image that started out that created our animation. So you can see all of our animation cells in our animation palette automatically activated. And the next thing we want to do here is just simply talk about how we would do the variable data. So under our image menu, we have a new command called variables, where you can define your variables, or you can look at the data sets that are already there. So, for example, we have the data sets for event, which is a layer inside of ImageReady, and speaker, which is another layer inside of ImageReady. We can page through those to see what they actually will do to the image. So as we go through each one, we can see that we get a name, and we get the name of the event. And same thing, name of the event, and one more, name in the event. So once you've done that, once you define your variable data sets, you can then go up to the File menu and choose Export directly from ImageReady directly to the Macromedia Flash SWF or SWF format. When you do that, there's a couple things you want to make sure you do. You want to generate the HTML, and you want to also make sure, if you're using variable data, that you enable dynamic text. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that. It'll ask us where do we want to do it. We'll go ahead and do it to the desktop for now. And our export is complete. So now we can go in and we can open up the banner, and there's the associated SWF file with it. And that will show us each one of our animations with each one of the locations, all coming from one file. So if we wanted to make the changes to our existing files, what we can do here is we can go in and edit the text that's coming from one and paste it into the text that's going to another. Now, since we have Adobe Go Live, we can do all that editing right inside of Go Live. But you could also use a text editing program to do this as well. But why not take advantage of Adobe Go Live since it's part of the Premium Creative Suite? So I'm going to go ahead and select both of these files. We'll go ahead and simply open these inside of Go Live CS, which again comes with the Adobe Creative Suite Premium Edition. And we've got our two files open here. So here's our banner that has each one of our animations in it. And here's the main banner that needs to change based on the data that we select. So the next thing I want to do is I actually want to look at the source code. So I have the source code here. And we're going to go up to our other window and do the same thing. We'll look at our source code. Now, there's been a comment here that just basically outlines the area that I need to copy just to make it easier for me to do this demo. So I'm going to go ahead and simply select this area of text that I need to copy. And using a contextual menu, I'll just simply invoke the copy command, or you can do Command C, of course. Next, I'll go into this area of the sample, and I would then go in and paste that information in. So let's go ahead and do this here. Make sure we got the right area. Actually, there we go. It was down too far. So we'll go ahead and paste this in. And now that we've done our paste, we can go back to preview or layout mode. And then we can go in and actually preview this right in the browser. So we'll go ahead and just simply hit our preview. And that'll preview that, showing the animations right inside of our web browser. And again, that's picking up the variable data from our Flash file. Next, we're going to talk about output and sharing. So I'm going to go ahead and close the browser for now. And we're going to go in and actually go back to Photoshop CS. With Photoshop CS, what I'd like to do is go into my file browser. Actually, we'll get to it here. And we'll simply go to our output folder. And inside of our output folder, we have a couple of items here that are already set for us. The next thing I want to do is go in and show you how we get a PDF presentation and how we can get a web photo gallery. So to do that, I'm going to go back up to the main folder. And inside the main folder, remember, we have those images that were flagged. So I'm going to go in and view the flagged files. That'll show me just our models here. And I'm going to go ahead and select just the models in this case. And the next thing I want to do is, using the automate command inside of the file browser, I want to choose Web Photo Gallery. Now, Web Photo Gallery is not new inside of Photoshop. However, just like everything else, it's got some new enhancements. And those new enhancements come in the form of better templates. We have some professionally designed templates that not only just allow you to show off your images, but in many cases to allow you to collect feedback on your images. So you can actually use the web as a way of reviewing and commenting on images with your clients. So I could go ahead and just simply click OK on this, but I've got a web gallery that's already been created. So let's go out and take a look at that. And let's go out one more. And here we go. So we'll go ahead and open up our index.html file. And that will load our web browser. And it's also loaded our image. But the one thing that's added here inside of this particular frame are a couple of buttons. One, image info, which pops up and shows me the metadata for this particular image. And my favorite feature in this particular template is the ability to give image feedback. So when I click on this, I can either have the customer click approved or other, put in their own comments, and either save or remove the feedback or email the feedback directly to me. And that's all controlled by the template that was set up inside of Adobe Photoshop. That's an amazing capability for photographers or any designer that wants their customers to be able to look at their images on the web and, more importantly, be able to provide feedback. Next and final, we'll take a look at one of my favorite new capabilities inside of Photoshop CS, another way of presenting your images to your customer, and that is the ability to create a PDF presentation. When you do this, it will select the images that you have open or in the file browser, and you can either create a multi-page document that you can just send to your customer or a presentation that actually advances automatically and has transitions. So let's go take a look at what that looks like. I happen to have one here on the desktop. We'll go ahead and double click on it. It even asks me for a password because you can password protect PDF files. So I'll go ahead and put in my top secret password there. It automatically went into full screen mode, and it's automatically giving my customer a preview of all the artwork that we've been working on for them with transitions. And if you're using Acrobat 6 Professional, you can even add your own music to this PDF presentation after you've created it. So whether you're upgrading to Adobe Photoshop CS or you're taking the plunge and upgrading to the new Creative Suite, you'll find everything you need to design and create beautiful artwork for print and the web. For more information about Adobe Photoshop CS or about upgrading or purchasing the Creative Suite, please see an Adobe representative as soon as you can. Thank you for your time.